give you some update from what I talked last time. And so I attended a couple of meetings when I was in Washington, D.C., because it's the time where the IMF and the World Bank annual meeting. So I went to one or two of those meetings related to central bank digital currency. But I think, you know, I have to say that people are still debating on this very fundamental concept. It's so that made me feel a little bit sad that, you know, people still debating on the need and all the basic things. There is no, I would say, consensus on, you know, this whole thing. But the good thing is that there is an initiative where all the central banks are signed on board to look into, develop, test, and look into CBDCs. They all know, but it's just they are uncertain its function in very much detail, right? So is it exactly like a cash? Is it more like, you know, more has a little bit more function than purely is a digitized cash? I gave a talk on the masterclass. It's a masterclass attended mostly by World Bank people from all over the country, and World Bank people. The understanding, I think, is that you know, people still are uncertain how the CBDC is going to impact you know, the banking industry and on the anonymity of, you know, so the anonymity is one of the major issue that has been discussed. So I see we are still in the long way where, you know, all the countries will have a fully deployed CBDC solution, which will touch most, you know, a large proportion of the economy. For example, in China, so I gave a talk to the CNY, and there was so much interest that you know, I have to kind of cut short because otherwise the other people's talk will not begin. Most of them are focused on, you know, privacy issues and offline payments and the impact to the existing banking system, and so on and so forth. And trading, you know, cross-border on all these things has not, you know, registered too much to this meeting that I attended. Although I think if you look at the BIS website in this month, in the past couple of months, a few reports related to, you know, MCBDC bridge, the project that in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and all of those projects has been published, I think, with a mixed kind of conclusion. That is, you know, it's certainly something that is doable. And technically, because most of these projects are related to a few companies putting their technology together to see what's happening, but I think it lacks study, or I would say study and research in things that is not related to payments. Okay, so here then CBDC is treated as a payment, but there are many issues that are related to the cross-border and even, you know, the economies within the border. So I think we are still in the process of experimenting. And I think Jaya mentioned we have some comments, feedback from BIS colleagues that, you know, so the CBDC and cross-border payments or cross-border trade finance, which is some areas that I was interested. We'll need a lot more studies in its impact and so on. So it's not a technology issue per se. So that's really what I got understanding where on this trip. When I went to Hong Kong, I met with some BIS Innovation Lab people that actually did this work, including the Hong Kong dollar and the stable coin. So in Hong Kong and Singapore, most of the work are related to how to not just treat the CBDC separately. Okay, CBDC as a payment, that's very good. Retail payment, cross-border payment, but really looking at the whole decentralized financing, even digital currency in other forms as a whole, how these things are going to fundamentally change everything together. So what the conclusion I draw from this trip is that CBDC as a payment, it's a small part of the infrastructure of trade. Okay, so for example, BIS studied a new call for proposal where they say, how do we support small business finance using blockchain and all this other decentralized financing technology. And I think the understanding that what we're changing is not just the currency, the CBDC, the payments, but rather the ecosystem, or I would call a stacked protocol. So you have currency, you have payments, then you have settlement, you have trade finance. Okay, so all of these things should be looked together. So it's not a matter of changing the bank transfer, the SWIFT or whatnot into central bank kind of CBDC bridge network. You have to change, the settlement. So it's not a bilateral, the volatility. I mean, the first presenter mentioned the volatility. So because the trade, you're trading goods, right? You're trading goods, but the currency volatility are most likely the country's economic situation against, the US dollar or something. So that volatility really may not have as much relationship to the actual trade between the two countries, because these two countries may have a very stable trade because the economy is very stable, very compatible. So they should have a quite stable trade whatsoever. But because all the individual currency, whether it's just today's banked money or central bank digital currency, it doesn't change the volatility in terms of foreign exchange. So that problem has not been solved. I recently had an interesting chat with one of the leading economists, and so we kind of come up with this idea where, when was the finance started? Well, it started when in a village where the people who wants to plant didn't have seeds, right? And then they needed some kind of things to give to the labor or the people who have cows or whatever to start the planting, to start the spring planting. And then they need the people later on to harvest. And in the end, when he gets all the grain, right, he can now sell that grain in the market and gets whatever he needs. So the whole system can be based on the whole, grain, the seeds and the planting and harvesting and everything. This system can be all done using grain as an instrument for payments, instrument for finance, instrument for, for loan and everything. Because imagine the seeds itself, they are grains. So treat the grain as a kind of money itself, right? Because you can use some grain to pay for, the laborer. And you say, okay, I'll give you, I don't know, 100 kilo. And in the end, so the the whole system can be financed using grain itself. So you can borrow the grain because the seed is there. If you borrow the grain, you can pay somebody using the grain for the labor. And then later on, you have a harvest, you can pay back using the grain. So the grain itself is what make the agriculture 1 year life cycle stable. So why is it that when we have two countries, bilateral or small group of countries trading things, and the currency of RAN or of Chinese yuan is all related to dollars, which changes very drastically because the Chinese one may be packed closer, but maybe South Africa is very much affected in some other politics or whatever. So this kind of volatility is introduced into the trading system and make it really unstable. So the idea that I have proposed is, why don't we use the goods itself that is being traded between the countries as the instrument. Of course, now we have the technology. So it used to be if you use the grain itself within the village, of course, it works perfectly, okay? Because everybody, is in a small distance. You can distribute, you can ship them, and people can eat it. But in the trade, it's very different, right? So we have to use digital technology like blockchain, decentralized finance, all these new financial tools to make sure we could actually rely on such a system where the instruments for both payments as well as for settlement and for trade finance is the goods themselves. If we have a very good way, technology way, to anchor our trade, our settlement, and so on, then we will make the trade much more resistant to the volatility of the countries, of politics or whatever, because people still need whatever they need. China needed the minerals and whatever the agriculture products, and Africa needed Chinese TVs or cell phone and so on and so forth. So this way, I think we could avoid a lot of those volatility and the lack of opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of missed opportunity because you did not have US dollar, or the exchange rate was not in favor. Because now if I know how much I can sell in my local market, because we do need cell phone, or we need minerals, then this type of, I would say, goods-based, there is what I call SDR commodity, right? So it's an instrument that is legally and financially based on the value of the goods and its pricing, its market value, and all these intermediaries that can accurately measure its true value, regardless of how the other currencies are fluctuating. Obviously, this is quite an advanced topic because I myself is not economist, but I'm just like people who probably did the Bitcoin or Ethereum. We're just coming here solving problems. We look at the problems. We are not restricted by what's the rules. That's what's the practice that maybe the central bank or BIS have been following. So we have to innovate. We have to think of new ways of meeting the needs of the trading partners. That's what I been working on right now. It's yes, there is all these volatilities, but can we start something even small between two countries on some whitelisted things, and we can learn a lot, because this new way of cross-border trade will have impact on the currency, on the CBDC, on the settlement, and all of those regulations included. So it is my goal to put this type of architecture, this type of technology, and the business case. In fact, there's people who wants to use this new platform to do the trade because they can get trade finance easier. They can settle with better, less fees being charged. That's where I think we would started to see how, this central bank digital currency as one of the first, digitized money form as a trigger that would trigger a complete change in how world trade may be, organized. And so that is what I have to report in this symposium. So thank you.